welcome EBC Live people. My name is Neil Thrussell with the Shindao Institute, and I'm super excited to have Dorothy Kuhn here today. So welcome, Dorothy.
It is a pleasure to be here with you, Neil.
So let's just not waste any time. Let's jump right in. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you start? Tell me about yourself.
Well, I grew up a mystical Christian kid running around the woods with my little brothers and the neighbor kids, so fascinated with how cool God made the world, I had to learn all about it. Studied science. It's the best friend of us. Keeps us out of the world of wild speculation, you know?
Yeah.
And, I was a really geeky kid. Somehow I went from being mystical as a young child to being really geeky in school. And by the time I was finishing up high school, I was who's who in physics. I was one of those weird kids who went to university. I declared my major in physics, my minor in math, and I never changed it. I graduated just as I had set out from the beginning, got my first job because I knew more quantum mechanics than anybody else. Geek.
So maybe we shouldn't be talking about growing your reach and inspiring people. We should be talking about quantum physics.
Well, that's a fascinating topic, and I do love it. It really fits in this kind of odd sense to everything that we do, because all those little things that are below our awareness level are things that we can't explain. It's so similar to quantum mechanics because there's that whole uncertainty principle that applies there. You can know certain things and it means other things you just can't know.
Yes. So how did you go from this driven, incredible dynamo to going, I need to help people. I need to inspire and lead people. Where's the correlation between being driven in school to where you are now, helping and inspiring people?
Oh gosh, there are two answers to that. So the first one is from childhood, and the second one is from my corporate life. So which one do you want first?
Of course, the childhood one?
Okay. Well, when I was a kid, I grew up in a military family. We lived a couple 3 hours north of Washington, D.C. And when the civil rights era was going on at that time, everybody watched Walter Cronkite in the evenings. And I was just horrified to see all of the meanness that was going on in the South, not too far from where I was living, just north of Washington, D.C. And I remember it was, August, that August of the March on Washington. And there were thousands I was just glued to the television watching these thousands of African Americans who were marching. It was a hot August day. Some of them were, they're all dressed in their Sunday best. Some of them were cooling their feet in the reflection pool, or the reflecting pool, I guess it's called. And I was thinking to my kid self, I would be in that pool, And as I listened to, in those days, JFK and MLK were like the best orators of the age, just stunning orators. And I'm thinking to myself, I get what these people are asking for. Why do they even have to ask? Any American should have that. It's the promise of our country. So I was just glued to the television. And my dad, he's passed now, so I can talk about him. I teased him over this when he was alive. But he was like, he said what white Americans often say, we're moving to Canada. Hi, I'll be your neighbor soon, Neil. But anyway.
We got that at your last election.
Goodness, it's just, and I have friends on both sides of the aisle, but they're really different moral perspectives. And as a scientist, I'm always asking, the thing that's so great about studying science is you really get to learn to ask great questions. It's kind of like being a journalist for the natural world. So I was always had that connection with, peace and justice and economic wherewithal so that people could live the lives that they wanted to live. That just seemed like common sense to me from the time I was really little. And when I was, and then I'm just gonna jump forward to my corporate life, so I went through this whole geeky period. And when I went into corporate, I went into analysis. I was really great at that. And after a while, I thought, I think I want some promotions. Well, I couldn't compete with the hot coders, and I couldn't compete with the hot designers. So darn it, I had to go to management.
Uh-oh.
And then I really had a lot to learn, So it was a fascinating journey. And in the beginning, I couldn't lead starving people to a feast. It was awful, really awkward. And it was because, I was in that analytical mode of explaining. And it turns out the part of our brain that makes, there are 3 parts of your brain that help you with thinking and decision making. And the part that makes all the decisions is probably not what you think it is. So you want to know what those 3 parts are?
Yes.
Okay. So there's the neocortex. It's the big part. It's the gray matter. It's on the outside. It's the part you go to school for. It does language. It does mathematics. It does pros and cons, features and benefits, analysis. And this is the number of decisions it makes. 0.
Yep.
And, when you lead with analysis or in the political or community realm with policies and issues, it has no convincing power, those things, because you're directing your listener by what you're choosing to talk about. You're directing your listener's mind to the part of their brain that makes exactly 0 decisions. So where do decisions get made? Like, what's up with that? So, in the world of where we're doing personal growth and development, that people are very consistent about getting people to know what they want. What's that future that they see for themselves? Well, that's because being able to have desire and a need for something happens in the 2 parts of the brain that make decisions. So those are the midbrain that processes social interactions like we're having now. It's fun.
Yes.
We get to go back and forth. We get to be, have some fun and, share some great information and that feel connected. And that part of the brain really helps us connect with one another, along with these proceptors at the front of your head there, right above your eyeballs. But also the brain stem, which processes not social interactions, but, the 4 existential questions that mean life and death for you as an individual and for us as a species. You want to know what those 4 questions are?
Yes.
And there's something in front of me. Am I going to eat it? Am I going to kill it? Am I going to run away from it? Or, in the essence that the species has to, go forward through time, am I going to mate with it? Yep. We're not doing this here.
That's a different program.
It's a whole different program. Probably a different skill set too. But anyway, that part of the brain, it makes really fast decisions, and it makes almost all the decisions that you do make because it's so fast and so energy efficient. Your midbrain, if you can't make a decision at that existential level, like you walk into your backyard and out of the corner of your eye, you think you see a snake, you will jump out of your skin, won't you?
Yep.
flash, you will, and your heart will race, you'll run away, all that kind of stuff, and then you look at it a moment later and you think, oh, that was a stick.
Yeah.
Well, your heart is still racing because that part of your brain, your brainstem, owns your physiology, and it takes a good while for all of those fight or flight hormones, that's adrenaline, norepinephrine, and or cortisol rather, that flood your system. It takes a while for those to kind of wind their way out, doesn't it?
So what you're saying is the good scientist in you had to figure a way to ignore the fight or flight mechanism for you to be an inspiring leader?
Well, you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it, but when you understand, I mean, we don't get to escape our biology, but
That's
when you
true.
understand it, we can rise into human spirit and be that better version of ourselves.
So after a little disappointment as a manager, you realized that your science background was not helping inspire people. What was your next steps? What did you have to learn along the way to get people to follow?
I had to learn to kind of frame my what it was that I wanted. If you don't direct, leaders are always pointing the way. Where is it? Are we going to be going? And if you talk about the backpack and the steps and this, all those little details, they don't make any sense without that container for where it is that we're going. What's the frame of reference? What's the big idea? And being able to and those big ideas, going back to JFK and MLK, those soaring, big, grand American values that are just intrinsic to us as Westerners, for how it is that we want to live our lives in freedom and connected communities. So, learning to speak, to open and direct your listener's mind to a place where they can take in a little bit of factual information. It doesn't take a whole lot, because the point is here, if they know where you stand, then they can decide cleanly, do they stand with you or not? And you honor busy people when you open with that big idea, what you really stand for, so that they can make a clean decision in the moment. You never want them to say, well, I need to go off and think about that or do some research, because, honey, we are busy, and that is not going to happen anyway.
Yeah, very true. So, you're probably not like me, and you probably didn't have any setbacks in your development. No.
Ever.
So, to go from where you were to here, and we all know that it's an evolutionary experience, what were some of your learnings that you collected along the way that you could share with our listeners?
Oh gosh, it's just so critical to in leadership to be able to get very calm. When you look, since it's those two parts of the brain that process social interactions and existential kind of stuff. I don't mean existential in the philosophical sense. I mean it in the life or death kind of sense. Then to be able to get calm, to in the moment summon a flood of those wonderful hormones, dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and those wonderful things, then that's an important. So I would love to show our listeners just a simple way that in 2 minutes, if you're walking into a meeting and you need to be at your best and you're feeling kind of rattled and not feeling well, there's something that you can do in 2 minutes in any bathroom stall on this planet and get calm and slow down and be that next best version of yourself, so the next few moments can be better than they would have been. Does that sound like something you want to do?
Yes.
Okay, good. So do we have to? Oh yeah, we got plenty of time. So this is called power posing, and some of our listeners may have heard of this, but if they haven't, it will change your life because it's so simple and you can do it anytime you want. So the idea of power posing is to leverage the fact that your brain and your body have a continual conversation. It never ends, this conversation. You can tell it never ends because at night you dream. And so you can leverage your body use your body to direct your brain into a happier state. And you do this by making yourself really big. So I'm going to back up here, and I've got my arms up like this in a V, and my hands are like up like this. So that it's as though I'm receiving goodness from the heavens, you know. So listeners, if you're doing this and you're willing to look goofy in your office or wherever you are, just do this and, you know, throw these arms back. Think about how a world-class runner looks when they're, you know, won the race and they're running across the finish line. They throw their arms up, you know, their chest is out, those bottom ribs are lifted up just a slight bit. They got a big, big smile on their face. You know, if you're standing up, have your feet just about shoulder width apart, and make all of these muscles on your posterior chain of muscles. That posterior chain from your neck all the way down your back through your glutes and your hams to your ankles. Those are the most powerful muscles in your body. And you want those to be, you know, those muscles to be alert and taut. It will give you this whole sense of power. And set your timer for 2 minutes. I'll set my timer for 2 minutes, Neil, and we'll go and I'll talk people through it. So wherever you're standing, stand up and just hold your hands up like this with at the end of your arms extended way above your head, just like Neil's doing. You can see him better than me. And just lift your chin up slightly. Lift your chest, the top of your chest up as though you're pulling a string from the top of your chest. Those bottom ribs, just lift those slightly. Breathe in for a count of 4, 2, 3, 4, and then out more slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So breathe in 4, 2, 3, 1, and out more slowly. 4, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1. I started on the wrong number. And just continue that for another minute, and in about 90 seconds, at that point, you'll start feeling those wonderful hormones, particularly, you know, if you're sitting, uncross your legs, so you've got full access to your full physiology. This is really helpful. And put a big smile on your face. Your chin is slightly lifted. Your lower ribs are slightly lifted, so your belly just kind of falls away from those bottom ribs. Deep breath in and a slower breath out, and deep breath in, slower breath out, and deep breath in. Strong muscles all the way down your posterior chain. And there we are at 2 minutes. How are you feeling?
Very good, thank you.
Wonderful. You know, it's just so simple. Busy people need something that they can do. I love to meditate, but, you know, some days I don't have time to do that. And so I do have 2 minutes because nobody's going to count the number of seconds I'm in the ladies' room. Thank you very much. Not even here in Texas, where we've got these crazy bathroom bills.
So, thank you. That was a beautiful exercise. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You bet, you bet. And there's just so many more that I love to train people on, because in different situations you'll want to do something, you know, that really fits you. When you've got those really juicy, happy brain chemicals, you know, oxytocin and like dopamine is that kind of bliss or that happiness. feeling good kind of hormone. Without those hormones in your system, you don't feel anything. They are the thing that trigger feeling for each of us.
Ah, sweet. So when the listeners want to get more information about you and what you do, how do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get value right away is to go to, I've got a really great quiz, and what we've been talking about so far is just in the first module that's mentioned in that quiz. So that quiz is at standout2lead.quiz.com. So stand out to lead, L-E-A-D, quiz.com. And at that, you'll have just 3 questions on each of the 5 modules, and you can just see where you are, what you're already really good at, and where you can up level. And we can all of us can up level at some place.
Yes, even you pick a speaker, you pick a political leader, you pick a coach, you pick an athlete. They all are continuing. It doesn't matter what level they are. They're not stopping. They all have coaches. They're all, as you would say, up leveling. Even the great Tony Robbins has coaches and people that he turns to make sure that he is still on his game. So it doesn't matter where you are in your development. You still need to continue to up level your game. So
and when you do that, you really make competition irrelevant, because what people will really be drawn to is you being in your power and authentic, and it's extraordinary when people show up that way, when they're leading with love and power serves that love. That's kind of the magic sauce, because it lets other people be fully themselves as well.
Yeah, and to me, it's for me, as when I'm willingly engaged as a follower, because somebody is truly, never because Neil, you need to do this now, get your butt over here, but it is. They have painted such a vision in my mind that I am drooling, and I cannot help. I am in love with the vision. I am in love with the person, and I just cannot be helped but drawn forward to be part of that.
Yes. You've reminded me of a wonderful dance that I used to dance, Milonguero Tango. Do you know this dance?
No, I have 7 left feet.
Well, when I showed up there, I did too. So just another thing that you can put in the back of your head. You can learn anything you want to. The question is, what do you want? But here's now, people will often think when I mention tango, they'll think of like that really fast dance with the legs flying,
Yes.
Not that stage dancing. It's not a lead dance, but Milonguero Tango is warm, it's connected, it's a close embrace dance, and a really wonderful lead. I've had some really wonderful leads and some awful leads, and so here's what you've just described is like an awful lead. They will grab a hold of the follower and they will drive them around the floor like it's like that follower is a shield,
Yes.
But a wonderful lead will open. It's a very connected dance, a very intentional dance, and it's that being the art on the floor where you're so connected with your partner, kind of energetically. These words made no sense to me in the beginning, but after a while, I kind of got it, and so a great lead will open a space. They'll move their upper body and open a space. And they'll notice when a follower steps into that space. If the follower doesn't step in, a good lead will adjust. And when the follower does step in, then the lead will step his foot. He doesn't step first. He steps, after the follower gets it. And that way, both parties are co-creating the art of the tango.
Yeah. Yes.
They both have agency, as we say.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful analogy because, yeah, you want to inspire people as opposed to, yes, some people lead from the putting the fear of God into people, but that's not true. That's not true leadership. That's domination.
Yeah.
So what's another thing? So what's one thing a person could do to move towards becoming a truly inspiring leader? What's one thing, let's say you don't know me from Adam or very well, what's one thing that I could do to help me become an inspiring leader?
The thing that stops most people from leading well is fear. And when we go into fear, we're just not as resourceful. We don't see as many options as we would otherwise see. So I'm going to make 2 points here. One is a principle. People make the best decision they can in the moment. If in the moment you could see a better decision to make, you would take it.
Yes.
So the fact it's not that there aren't better options out there to take. It's whether you're in a mental, emotional state where you can see it and make that decision. So what's a simple way to be able to see more options so that you can really be a better leader? Those tango leads, who lead in that wonderful, delicious way, see many options, and they know that the connection is the key. So the way to do in module 3, people will see that on the website standouttolead.com or standouttoleadquiz.com, is really to turn fear into emotional gold. And so I show people how to rest into this fear. And if some people will hear this and they'll be able to do it right away, so I want to give it to you. But to when that fear comes up, and it will, just to notice those feelings, notice where they are in your body. Are they tight? Is it a tightness in the chest? Does it feel like a rock on your heart? Is it a tightness in your belly, or tight in the neck? Does it feel hot or cold? Just how does that fear show up physically for you? Because it'll manifest in some physical way.
Yes.
And then to rest into that and just breathe into it and just watch, give it a minute or 3, and those feelings will process through. Because it's what that fear is, a jolt of adrenaline or norepinephrine or something like that. And
Yes.
you want to give those hormones some time to dissipate, and then ask, what's the gift on the other side of that? What is that fear protecting?
Yes.
And
yes.
yeah, and just being able to do that alone will make you much more resourceful. Much more resourceful.
Thank you. I love the question. What is the gift in that? So thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are out of time.
Ugh.
So
crushed. We could go on for hours.
Yes.
Let's not.
So I will post the Standout to Lead quiz.com in the comment section here after we are done here. So thank you, Dorothy, for being part of this. And we will talk and connect soon.
Very good. Honored to be on your show. Bye for now.